I can tell you I was a seatmate of Brad Wall for 11 years. We sat together in opposition, we sat together in government, and I learned a lot. I learned that this gentleman could be very, very stern. I learned that this gentleman also could show a lot of tears, and my colleagues would know that at times I would try to support him and he would try to support me. There were times also when Brad would say something to the opposition in a little bit of a softer voice, but it was a really good line. So with his permission, I made sure that the NDP across the way heard him by repeating his line. And he got to hear it. I'll tell you, they got to hear us. My comments are also coming from his much, much, much older Ukrainian brother. Because that's what he used to say about me. I was much, much, much older. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to go back to August 8th, 1997. I did not know Brad Wall. I didn't know anything about him. When we started the party on that hot August day, as you have already heard from Gail's book. I was over on the east side of the province, and it was the Saskatchewan Party's job, us as MLAs, we were to go and try to find candidates. So I spent my time on the west side of the province. I heard about this person in Swift Current, this gentleman, that was going to seek the nomination. It was a contested nomination. Great, we had many, many contested nominations back there, but we wanted to make sure that all 58 constituencies had great candidates. So, on March 10th, 1999, with a contested nomination, there were many people gathered, and Brad Wall was our successful candidate. We soon found out a young, knowledgeable business person with political experience, winner of the Economic Development Award, family man, having just welcomed their third child. And then I spoke to some of Brad's acquaintances after he was selected. And I found out that this man had tremendous oratory skills. He was a great communicator. And we know that now, 10 years later, that he's the best this province has had. The Saskatchewan Party team felt really good attracting all of our candidates, but especially Brad Wall, because we knew that Brad Wall was going to give a very significant challenge to John Wall. No, not his dad, but John Wall, the NDP candidate that needed to be defeated, and Brad did exactly this. In Gail's book, and I can now quote from it because, of course, it's released, I'm going to quote something from page 190. And this is election night 1999, okay? It says, as Downs watched the number of elected Sask Party candidates increase, his excitement kept growing. But he had not yet seen any news about his friend, Brad Wall, in the riding of Swift Current. Suddenly, he spied Wall's name running across the ticker tape at the bottom of the screen. He had been elected. Downs slammed his hand down on the table in jubilation, and in doing so, knocked over a glass of water. As he apologized to the other members of the television crew and cleaned up his mess, he explained by saying, "That was my friend who just got elected. I think he's going to be pretty good." What a forecast from Reg Downs that day in 1999. I'm going to quickly jump to Brad's maiden speech. As newly elected members, there is something called the maiden speech, your first speech in the legislature. Premier Romano called a fall session in 1999, so we were there. And this is from, an excerpt is from Hansard, December 8th, 1999. And this is from Brad. Mr. Speaker, my commitment to my constituents is solemn. I will employ the values that have been instilled in me while I grew up in Swift Current: honesty, integrity, hard work, family, faith, common sense, and hopefully a sense of humor will be the values I strive for in representing the constituency of Swift Current. That was his quote. On that election day, of course, the Sask Party elected 25 people on September 16th, and a short time later, because of a judicial ruling, we had a by-election on June 26, 2000, and Yogi Hugaber came to our team, and now we were 26 strong. We were ready to build. We were ready to move forward, and we moved towards 2003. I'm going to shorten my remarks because, again, there's so much to tell you about the history of Brad Wall. But I'm going to, again, refer to the election of 2003, and it says this: for the Saskatchewan Party, election night 2003 could not have been more different from that of 1999. The 1999 campaign had been about legitimizing the Saskatchewan Party, but the 2003 campaign had been about winning. Following the resignation of Elwyn Hermanson, a successor was needed. Many approached a member for Swift Current, and on February 11th, 2004, Brad announced his intention to seek the leadership. The nomination period ended with only one candidate, and on March 15th, 2004, Bradley John Wall was acclaimed leader of the Saskatchewan Party. Very quickly, he showed us that leadership. He developed an economic paper. He had a complete review done of Saskatchewan Party policies led by MLA Wayne Elhard. There was tremendous involvement by so many. And one of his quotes, and I have used it a number of times, and I know he won't mind, it says this: "Growth is not the end. It is the means to an end." This is an important point because too often, enterprise-minded governments appear to seek growth for the sake of growth. We don't finish the sentence. We don't paint a clear picture of why growth is important. The reason we seek growth is to secure a better quality of life for our families, for seniors, for those among us who are most vulnerable, for all Saskatchewan people. End of quote. November 7th, 2007 was a great day in the province of Saskatchewan. Only 10 years after forming our political party, the Saskatchewan people elected Brad and the Saskatchewan Party to be the government of Saskatchewan with an outcome of 38-20. Many elections have followed. The numbers just continue to get better. So 10 years have passed with Brad Wall at the helm as our premier. You might ask, so what is the legacy of Brad Wall? To some, he's a devoted family member who understands the role that family plays in our lives. 18 years of continuing to drive back to Swift Current during the week to support Tammy and his children and his community. He is seen as the driving force behind helping people less fortunate, but most importantly, ensuring that homes were available to those on the 440 wait list, and that list does not exist today. He is recognized. Yes, a great applause. So critical for his leadership. He's recognized for his leadership, both nationally and provincially, helping to change the attitude that people had about Saskatchewan. We are no longer the we province, just to quote a former premier. We are no longer dependent upon equalization. We have an attitudinal change in our people that are now very, very happy to be from and living in Saskatchewan. He is the most popular premier in Canada. The polling results just a short while ago show him as the most popular premier in Canada. Can you imagine? His leadership is evident on many fronts, as we recall the proposed potash purchase, or the need for Saskatchewan to oppose a federal carbon tax, to lead on pipeline expansions, and to help Rachel Notley get her foot out of her mouth. This is evident by a strong leader. This is the evidence. The Ukrainian community recognizes the support shown by Premier Wall in having Saskatchewan become the first province in Canada to recognize the genocide in Ukraine in 1932-33, known as the Holodomor. Brad, your leadership has resulted in the placement of a statue on the grounds near our legislative building to remind everyone of this atrocity. On behalf of the Ukrainian community, thank you. I can tell you that Brad is always mindful of expenditures and revenue, especially on the expenditure side. Having been a Minister of Finance for 5 years, I do remember those one-on-one discussions where his eyes would just look at you and say, Ken, we can't do that. But you know what has happened? Saskatchewan has a AAA credit rating. One of 2 provinces in Canada to have a AAA credit rating, and it is because of the leadership of Brad Wall. So the question is, will you remember him? Will you remember him for the health facilities built? And James has already touched on a couple of them, like the Children's Hospital here in Saskatoon, the Provincial Hospital in North Battleford, the Moose Jaw Hospital, the Leader Hospital, the new long-term care homes, over 60 new and renovated schools in our province, new regional colleges in Humboldt, Yorkton, and Weyburn. The infrastructure list, my friends, is long, long, long. If you travel throughout our province, you can see improved roads, brand new bridges, new passing lanes, new overpasses, and a transportation system ready to meet the needs of the future. We are no longer the province with the longest wait times for surgeries, but now have the shortest wait times in Canada. Initiatives in healthcare that have led to tremendous benefit for people of Saskatchewan. So, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter which area of government you look at. The positive influence of Brad Wall is there. His belief that Saskatchewan should take its place as a leader in our nation, that our province could be so much more, is reflected in a line he often used in his speeches. Quote, "You should expect a government that is resolved that this province of Saskatchewan will never again become the place to be from, but that we would remain a wonderful place, the place to be." Premier Wall, it was an honor to serve with you, and on behalf of Gail and my family, I want to say thank you for all you have done for the province of Saskatchewan.